So, brothers and sisters, Dhamma, welcome once again to the Dhamma stream, Vassa 2025. We're delighted and honored to have Lompo Viradhammo here with us from Tisarena. Let us all put our palms together and offer Lompo our 3 respectful bows. Yes, we can begin now, Lompo.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My throat's a bit old here. So I guess we should start with some meditation. Shall we do that?
Yeah.
Let's meditate for half an hour and see what happens. So close your eyes, come to the present moment. Listen to sound. Let go of thinking. Listen to sound. Notice the silence of no thought. Listen to sound. Let go of thinking. Change the sense door. Feel your hands, the tactile feelings of your hands. So warmth, pressure, whatever that might be. Feel that, know that. Let go of thought. Feel the hands. Notice the silence of awareness. So the silence of awareness is what we are inclining towards. Feel your breathing. Feel an in-breath. Let go of thinking. Notice the silence of awareness for whole in-breath. Feel the whole cycle, in and out, the silence of awareness with breathing. Don't tighten your forehead or your eyes in some kind of forced concentration, but just welcome an in-breath. Let go in the out-breath. Notice the silence of awareness. As you breathe out, during the out-breath, pay a lot of attention to the out-breath and just bring in a word like trust, trust and awareness. So breathing in, the in-breath, silence of awareness. Breathing out, letting go, just trust. And be with that out-breath right to the end. Right to the end. Let the next breath come. Silence of knowing. Out-breath, letting go, trust. And as you attempt to do this, you'll get taken by worries or plans or whatever, thoughts. But just return to the simple model of listening to sound, establishing silence of awareness, and then pick up the breath and just be that silence of awareness for an in-breath, and relax at the end of the out-breath and pay a lot of attention to the end of the out-breath. All right? So let's see how that works. Just sit quietly. So please remember, you're not trying to get rid of thought, but you are making an intention to move to the silence of awareness. And so it's different. If you're trying to get rid of thought, then that's tension. But if you just notice thought, and then you pick up a sense object and just notice it silently, and you've moved away from the habit of thinking. A huge difference there. One is trying to, the other is just mindfulness. Okay, let's stop there. Stretch your legs if you like.
I will request for the Dhamma talk. Rama Jaloka Tipati Sahambati Katan Talian Tivarang Ayachata Santi Tasata Paraja Kajatika Dese Tuntama Anukam Pimang Pachang.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassami. Hello everyone. How are you doing? Everyone all right? Kind of. We're doing well here. It's a very peaceful year for us because we finished building the Dhamma hall. In the last few years, of course, there was a building site here. Now we're using this gorgeous, gorgeous hall. So it's a good time for us. So what to talk about? I often listen to Lumpur Sumedho's talks. I think many of us do. So I was contemplating his simple language he uses. So he, as those of you who've been listening to him, you'll know that he constantly refers to a phrase, trust and awareness, again and again and again. We all know what trust is. We all know what awareness is. And yet to take a simple word like trust and learn to embody it as a contemplation is different than just, okay, I know what trust means. What's the next step? And that is, of course, the nature of language, especially a simple word like trust, that it doesn't necessarily lend itself to taking it inwards because we kind of feel, I already know what that is. Sometimes it does. But to take it inwards, then, like, I think this is why I was suggesting on the end of the out breath, taking just the end of the out breath and just like put in the word trust. And how does that resonate and what does that mean? And that's in contrast to the tendency to try to strategize, to do something, to get rid of something, to achieve something, to analyze something. This is quite often an underlying attitude that we bring to our meditation practice because we want to get some result. And oftentimes we don't want the thinking mind and we don't want the pain in the body. So trusting in awareness is actually not so easy. It's easy to understand. Now, when we're developing the spiritual life, if we're really concerned about our interior being, then I think there are two elements which are, for me, considerations which are quite crucial. One is silence, and the other is the open heart. Silence, I was suggesting, can be actually witnessed in very simple ways. When you are simply mindful of a cold water running from a tap, you just take that simple sense impression and you actually feel it. You actually take the time to feel it. Then you're mindful of coldness and dampness, wetness on the fingers. And you'll notice when you do that, the mind is silent. Can't have two things going on at the same time. So just by being mindful of one of the sense doors, you can notice the silence of the mind. You can do that with the breath, as I was suggesting. You're just knowing one in-breath as it feels. Not trying to, I would say, not trying to concentrate on it to get any kind of result, but actually just the simple act of attentiveness on an in-breath or on an out-breath. You'll notice that the mind is silent. Otherwise, you're not really paying attention to the breath. So quite often we can kind of know we're meditating, but we're also thinking. There's a kind of background muttering going on. Now, this is different than trying to get rid of thinking. I think we've all suffered that one. Enough with the noise up there, enough with the chatter, enough with the blah, blah, blah in your mind. But that doesn't work because it's not really mindfulness, it's just aversion. What also doesn't work if there's no intention. If I make no skillful intention, then of course there'll not be no awakening of the mind. And intention is crucial. And intention in this case is not to get anything different, but to wake up and attend to what is. And what is what is. Now, when we talk about trust, I think that is the open heart. Trust is the opposite of desire. And desire is not the open heart. Nirodha, the cessation of desire, would not that be a sense of trust? Could that be a way we talk about it? It might be. Trust, what does trust feel like? Now, this is trust in the sense of our interiority. In terms of worldly dharmas, no, you don't trust everyone. You don't trust some guy who's trying to get you into a Ponzi scheme, etc., etc. If you're going to buy a house, you talk it over with your family, and you make sure that the building inspector gets in there, and you do all due diligence, etc., etc. So trust on a worldly level is a different thing. Trust on the inner level is more about where do we find peace? Where do we really, really find peace? And we don't find peace in objects, because objects are unreliable and they keep changing. And by objects, I mean thoughts, emotions, the body, relationships, and the whole 9 yards. And the image, you have various images to analogies which you've all heard, and metaphors for the tendency to move towards silence. And that is, the one is like the really extreme one is like a hurricane. And the hurricane's a whirlpool of energy, and in the center it's still. And that whirlpool of energy is to some extent the khandhas, the 5 khandhas, sense contact, thinking. And especially me and my thinking, I thinking, ego thinking. That's very much that. And as long as my attention is on ego thinking, I thinking, me and my thinking, I'm out in the periphery. Sometimes it's like a circle, circumference of a circle, and the center point, still center point of being. Sometimes I use background, foreground. Sometimes it's the depth of the ocean and the waves on top of the ocean. There's many, many metaphors to that. Whatever metaphor works for you is good. So stillness is always there. And you can, like, that's why I guess I intuitively sort of introduce meditation just by asking people to listen to sound. That's simple enough. But do listen. And then when you listen, even if there's a lot of traffic outside, I'm here, it's very silent, but even if there's traffic outside, the stillness, the silence is still there, because that's what awareness and the center of your being is. It's still, it's quiet. And so why we're a bit down on desire, because desire is usually for objects, for experiences, for getting out of pain, not having a relationship with us full of anger and so on. I was talking with a friend about that. And sure, we don't want that. We don't want difficulties, but we have them. just a given. So we work with those the best we can, but can we find a refuge in the stillness of being? And that's like returning to the center. So where I had a lot of insight about that was when I had to teach. First, I didn't want to teach, and then Lompa Samedo asked me to start teaching and put me in front of a monastery and so on, those kinds of things. But so I was very uncomfortable in extreme ways. And he said, and this was Ajahn Chah's suggestion, don't prepare your talks. Now, I'm not against preparing talks. I think it's great, and it has a place, right? But Ajahn Chah, he said, no, use the very kind of performance anxiety that one has, kind of anxiousness about giving a talk in public, which I think most of us can feel. Use that opportunity to observe the thinking that is produced by the performance anxiety and trust and awareness. Now, what does that mean? Well, I just saw that, okay, if I have to give a talk, and this is many, many years ago, I would want to prepare. And I said, no, my teacher said, use this. So then suddenly I could see, oh, this is anxiety coming up. What am I going to say? And that produces thinking. And that's the me and my thinking. I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that. And that's delusion. That's pure delusion, because so often I would give a fantastic talk to myself beforehand, and then I'd get in front of people, my mind would go blank. I said, no, not silence now. I need some words, thank you very much. My mind would go blank. So that was just pure delusion. And this deluded nature of the thinking mind, the me and my mind, it's crucial. If you don't understand that, then you think you're your thoughts. But we are not our thoughts, are we? Which is an absurdity. We're not our thoughts. Our thoughts come and go according to causes and conditions. I was once visiting some exotic place with Ajahn Pasano and his mother. Ajahn Pasano is lovely. His mother is 102, I think, now. And he takes her on a trip that's sponsored by many of his lay supporters to some exotic place every 2 years. And I get to go alone. So we go with a few others, and I think I've been to Hawaii twice. Well, it's really cool being an old monk, but we would go. Rhoda is Ajahn Pasano's mom. And when we were coming into the airport, getting on the plane from Hawaii to San Francisco, her passport wouldn't register because it was registering her as an infant, that she's 2 years old. They didn't have a 100 number in the registration process. Anyway, that's an aside. But we were walking around, and this kind of Rastafarian type chap came up to me, and he was very polite and very interested and very Rasta. And he says to me, just tell me one thing, man. Just tell me one thing. I'm it was very kind and polite, but like almost like Bahia pleading to the Buddha, give me some words, please. And what came out was, you are not your thoughts. And he said, huh? Is that all I get? But it's true, isn't it? You're not your thoughts. Your thoughts come and go. And yet, they are so seductively, seemingly real. And so the practice of, say, go back to my training in this in this performance anxiety, what was really one of the things which was very helpful, it was very repetitive, because every time I had to give a talk, and I had to give a lot of talks, and then I'm in front of a group, there's the same habit again. There's the same pattern. There's the same thinking mind trying to move away from the feeling of anxiety by filling it with some confidence, which was false. So then I began to say, oh, trust and awareness. Okay, what does that mean? Trust and awareness. Well, how does it feel now? How does my breath feel now? Trust in that. So I could do that. And then my mind would take off again. And I could do that again, and my mind would take off again. But all the time this was taking place, I was no longer investing in the thinking mind with its delusions based upon anxiety. I was now investing energy, reversing polarity, coming inwards to the feeling in the heart, to the feeling of like anxiety in the body, but it's like this. Anxiety feels like this. And this is, I think, Lompa Samedo's suggestion of trust. You really trust in this, and what you don't trust is that deluded thinking mind. So I'm not saying that we don't think. Strategic planning and thinking are very, very necessary. Don't confuse that. We're not talking about worldly dhammas. We're talking about now the delusion of self, how it gets manifested in all these different emotional ways that we have. Self-disparagement, say. Many people are, right, like seriously into self-disparagement, self-criticism, self-judgment because of cultural family conditions. They've been disparaged, then they've been told they're no good, and they think they're no good. Classic pattern. Okay, if that's the classic pattern, then when it comes up, that thinking process seems very real. I am no good. I really am no good. And someone will say to that person, actually, you're really nice. Yeah, but you don't really know me. I'm no good. And that's delusion. That's delusion. So then you start to not just say, you don't try to replace it with some kind of smarmy niceness, someone wonderful, because that doesn't work. But you actually use the habit to feel the energy now being pushed into this thinking mode, and you trust in awareness. So what does it feel now? I'll trust in that. So then the mind goes to thinking again. I won't trust in that. You notice it, yeah. You're not trying to get rid of it. This is very important. You're not trying to get rid of it because you can't. It's karma. It's just the way the mind's been conditioned. But you can stop investing in it with belief, and you can invest in awareness. Awareness is like this. My body feels tense. And then when you get better at it, of course, which I think we're all there, you get better at it, then you as you put the language of trust into your body, you start to feel the tension of all this becoming and struggling and strategizing and doing and getting rid of and planning and all that. That's actually held a lot in the body. And as the word, like something like trust or metta or whatever word you want to use, let's use trust. You put that in there, you start to contemplate it, the feeling of trust. What does trust really feel like? And that gives you a kind of mirror to distrust, to desire, to trying to get rid of, to blaming, all of that. So by bringing up one word, which is wholesome and helpful, that creates a mirror for those which are unwholesome. And that's the strategy of right thinking. Right thinking puts into your mind the correct attitudes, the correct directions, the correct way of making effort in the moment, and then the wrong way of doing things, the kind of tense, getting rid of, becoming, all of that which we have, that is seen in the body as well as in the mind. So by renouncing these thinking cycles, you don't necessarily, they don't stop right away. Oh, I wish they would. We all wish they would. But what you do is you disempower them. So this takes a lot of rigor. This takes a lot of rigor, and it's a gentle kind of rigor, really, to always do this. Come back, return to silence, come to the center, stillness of being. And you can do that by just being mindful. You really can. So, you know, I mean, this is cliche Buddhism, but you can just wash the dishes as you're washing the dishes. Like the Zen, the simple Zen sayings. What is Zen? Chopping wood, carrying water. And it's true. It really is true, because if you are washing the dishes and you make it an exercise in mindfulness, if you think that mindfulness is controlling the soap powder and controlling yourself so that you don't think, you don't understand mindfulness. But if you just do mindfulness of dishwashing and you say, I'm just going to try to notice the silence of the mind. So when your mind trips off because you know how to wash dishes, it's not It's not rocket science. You've done it a million times, so you can do it without even noticing it. In other words, you can be thinking all the time. No, now you take that simple exercise that has to be done. You don't just try to get it done quickly. Well, you can do it fast, but the exercise isn't to get it finished. The exercise is to be present in the doing. This is actually quite powerful. Washing dishes when you wash dishes. I know it's Buddhist cliche, and it's not fancy Buddhism, but it does work, because if you actually just do that, you wash a plate. In the washing of the plate, there's silence. In the thinking and just doing it automatically, then you're not washing the dishes. And so the training is, again, not like, I think that's what I misunderstood about mindfulness way back, was I thought it was about control. Like everything I had to do, I had to be really, really, really focused and controlled. But I was so tense. I was so utterly tense and unhappy that I can't live life this way. But then latterly, I began to see, if I just pay attention to anything skillfully, there's the silence of awareness. It's like that. You can take any sense object you want. If I touch the table, I feel hardness, but if I really touch it, there's silence. So we're touching silence by touching the table. You see what I mean? Now, if you do that a lot, then what happens is intentionality kind of starts to get a momentum. Like I may, just as a segue on this, I may need a knee operation in Thailand in January. So I'm looking at how to do prehab. You know what prehab is? Exercises before you get the operation rather than rehab. Prehab. So I'm strengthening my legs because I think they're going to pop a new knee in or something like that. But the physiotherapist suggested, well, if you start to do exercises now and you do them diligently, after the operation, you will have a body memory of doing exercises because you've done them. You've done them twice a day for 3 or 4 months. Then when you have to do these exercises, and it's crucial to do these exercises, you'll have a better chance at doing them because you've been doing them. And that's the nature of intentionality. Intentionality, when it's done from right view, when it's done from right understanding rather than from desire. Desire to get rid of or desire to become is wrong view, wrong understanding. But the desire to awaken and to know the way things are and to come to the silence mind is a present moment desire. It's about nowness. So you make intentions to awaken to, like me and my habit of thinking before giving the talk. I kept making intentions. No, don't go there. Go here. No. Don't go there, go here. I was just redirecting attention, changing the polarity. And I had to do that a lot. But then over time, that tendency to attach to that framework of self-view and self-thinking died away naturally because it wasn't giving any fuel, and would get strengthened as awareness and open-heartedness. So I think that for me, the trust is the open-heartedness. Trust is an open-hearted thing if you look at it in your own body. So we're not trusting in an external thing. We're understanding how trust itself feels in your being. So any amount of compassion, any amount of generosity, any amount of forgiveness, any amount of thank you, any amount of metta, any amount of joy at the beauty, and so on and so forth, these are all towards trust, because they are states of non-desire. So the Brahma Viharas, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, if you want to break it up, I don't break it up, I just think it's the open heart. The open heart, then all the activity towards that is a movement of trust. Whereas desire, becoming, getting rid of, is not trust. It's about time, it's about me, it's about going somewhere else. So we keep the worldly dhammas clear. And so remember, this isn't about worldly dhammas. About worldly dhammas, you've got to be streetwise, right? It'd be crazy not to. You don't have to be cruel, but you have to be streetwise. But now I'm talking about interior life and finding something which is beyond change, that peacefulness that we have a chance to realize in our own lives. All right, I'll leave that for your reflection. Does anyone have any questions?
Handamaya Dhamma Kathaya Sadhu Karang Tathamase Sadhu 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 Anumodhami.
Long Paul. So now we'll open up the floor for questions and answers. Anyone who's got a question, a long form, or comment about the talk, please feel free to click on the raise hand button.
Any questions from the audience? No? No?
There is one.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. John, hi.
Hello, Paul.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's for me a very a topic I struggle with so much in my life is trust. And I, just very strongly conditioned to be cynical and mistrust and always thinking there's an ulterior motive behind it. And it's just so ingrained. I really struggle with it, and even with the Dharma and my spiritual friends, and yeah, it's been a real hot topic for me, especially as my practice really deepens. It's tough to sit with sometimes, but I don't know if you can speak to that at all.
That's true for many people, John, because there has been a childhood which developed all kinds of issues of abandonment and hurtfulness and so on. So the character was formed, as you know, to survive. And that was the survival mechanism that worked to this point. And then you have the karma of that, the tension of that, all of that now, in a way that you are aware of it objectively to some extent. That's a big step. The very fact that you can witness it and name it as a problem is a big step, because you are no longer enmeshed in it, but you're still embodied in it, as it were, historically and so on. So I guess intuitively, what I would take is, what does mistrust feel like? Rather than having to replace mistrust with trust, my question would be, what does mistrust feel like? Where is it in the body? So if it's coming up in a social situation and you can be quiet and you don't have to have any kind of interchange, it's not necessary then, and you're feeling really mistrustful of someone or whatever, or that mood is there, you say, what's that feel like? What does mistrust feel like? Make it conscious. Then, as you make it conscious, you start to get more distance from it, as opposed to thinking you have to resolve mistrust to become someone who's trustful. That won't work, because it's still in the realm of self-view. I am someone who is mistrustful. I should become someone who's trustful. You want to get out of self-view, as you know, witness it and say, what does mistrust feel like? So first, there's the acceptance of mistrust. And that might bring up a lot of darkness, right? You know that. And then you don't want to go there. And don't go there. Go for a walk, etc. Take some photography, and then try again. What is mistrust? When it comes up, you don't have to force it, it's there. Do it again. What does mistrust feel like? Then the darkness will come up again. And at some point, because you're engaging now with the darkness, because that's what it is, your mindfulness gets stronger, even if it's incremental, infinitesimal. It is getting stronger because you're giving it some permission. And then slowly, 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 and with the help of Marissa or friends or whatever talking, you kind of engage it. But the darkness is very frightening. And it's both frightening socially, how you might react, and it's also frightening just experientially, existentially, because what you've done is you've created a cynical, front to survive that. So it's difficult work, but it is possible if I think you start with awareness of mistrust and don't worry about trust. Start that as the game plan, because in fact, when you are aware of mistrust, you are trusting in awareness. If you see what I mean. So we're trusting in awareness rather than, and I'm just trying to, maybe I misdescribed it, what that feels like. But I find it really helpful, that kind of contemplation. But when you can just let that be what it is, then you're aware. That makes sense?
No, it makes complete sense. It's it's that streetwise kid that's always on the lookout.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and I think some of it is the struggle with trusting my own goodness, and
Yeah.
yeah, and the darkness is the perfect way to describe it because that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
no, that makes
And
total sense.
And the tragedy of all of this is that the unloved start to feel it was their fault, and that that's the real tragedy of it, because it's so unfair. It's
You're
so
totally
seemingly
right.
unfair. Yeah.
You're a bad
And
kid.
yeah, and so the self-disparagement's there. That.
Yep.
So, but the way is I have various friends who have similar kind of self-disparagement in them, and it's really hard. They'll like, I'll compliment them and say, "Oh, it's nothing. No, it's not nothing. It's a lot, actually." Yeah, but you don't know. It's nothing. It's nothing. And then they'll praise me, for brushing my teeth. And I'll say it's nothing. No, you're an amazing toothbrusher, right? I'm exaggerating, but they'll just, it's so hard. It's so hard to do. So, like maybe that's why that mantra that I was playing with, I love you, I've always loved you, I will always love you. I think that's where I was coming from. I was with a lot of people who had these huge abandonment issues, and it's just so painful to hear them. And I thought, no, we just have to somehow put some language in there. All right.
Thank you, Lampo.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Nice to be with you. Hi, Ming.
Lompa, before we go to Ming, there is Flora.
Sure. Hey, Flora.
Flora?
What's the question?
Just
She's got
unmuting.
her.
Good evening.
Hi, Flora.
Lompa. Thank you. You mentioned something in your talk, which I was wondering if you could develop further, trying to get rid of physical pain. Because for the last 2 weeks, for the first time in my life, I've been dealing with acute pain. And I must admit, I do think about trying to get rid of it. And I'm just wondering how you recommend that one handles this kind of situation. At some point, one can observe pain up to a certain point. But after that, it's more difficult.
I think distraction is good.
Distraction.
If you can go to another sense door and distract the pain, because sometimes being aware of the extreme pain actually heightens it, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
what we're really concerned about is aversion to the pain.
Ah, yes.
That's the problem. So
Yes.
if you're trying to notice the pain in order to get rid of the aversion to pain, that won't work. So what we're trying to do is relax with something that's biologically telling you don't relax. This is not good. So you've got biology pushing a kind of agenda onto you. So maybe Bach, I don't know. You like
Yes, Bach
classical
is good.
music? Yeah,
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
like that, it's still there, but it's not overwhelming your mind. And then you just got to figure out postures and strategies. You have insomnia from that. I know, like one person I know, he has really good capacities for visualization, and he
Hmm.
has a strong spiritual background, so he visualizes things that make him happy. He has a lot of chronic pain, and he's not disassociating, and he knows the pain's there, but he's going to something that's light and easy. So it
Hmm.
is each person's going to be different, but in terms of the Four Noble Truths, it's always the desire not to have this.
Yes.
So it's the
Yes.
aversion. And who could blame you for aversion, right? How else could it be? But that'll compound the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In other ways, compassion, you kind of think, well, everyone who has chronic pain feels like this. You kind of like you open the mind to compassion for yourself, and everyone
Hmm.
is feeling this. That can lighten the
Hmm.
load
Hmm.
rather than, oh, how long is this going to last? And when am I going to get out of this? And am I going to get will I need surgery? And how much fentanyl can I take? Or whatever pathway it takes.
Yeah.
So the mind can really trip out on worry.
Hmm.
And that will be, that'll be like, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to be aware of Bach or, whatever you want. So
Yeah.
you can take another sense door. Yeah.
That's
It's,
helpful.
it's tough.
Thank you, for. Thank you.
Yeah. This aging process is brutal.
It is.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Oh,
It is.
okay.
Thank you.
Ming?
And thank you, Beta.
Ming,
Okay,
Ming,
Flora. Ming, are you on? Okay.
Hello, Longpo. Very good to see you again. Thank you for the
Nice to see you.
talk. Yeah. So for me, the tendency is probably more to trust, in a worldly sense, first, and wanting to trust. And of course, sometimes, it backfires. And, uh, sometimes people, um, either betray your trust, okay, or don't appreciate the trust. Uh, and these days, I do sit with the hurts or the discomfort, as Longpo suggests, um, and take the time to nurture myself when that happens. Where I am still struggling with is after that, I may, notice that, okay, this is what it's like, it comes, it goes. But where I'm a little bit, I guess, stuck still is then what with the other party? Because part of me want to be nice and warm again, but that feels hypocritical sometimes. And I may not be as ready as I would like. Um, but not being nice and warm feels not nice as well, if you know what I mean. And I think that's the part, and wanting to trust again. I think that is the other thing that also pulls at me, especially if these are people who are uh, close to you, or people that either you are of service to, or just they're not strangers, they're not just acquaintances, right? They're people who are closer. I think that's the struggle.
So, Ming, can you say straight to the person, I don't trust you?
I can sometimes, depending on who.
Because sometimes the issue is fear.
Mm,
So you don't want to, you want to be nice and you want to be trusting, and you sense something is off. But you, because of fear, social fear, and then you have a persona which maybe manifests that, you don't talk directly. So one of the things I would suggest is in relationships, how much fear is there in the interchange in your heart? I'm not saying there is, but any amount of fear, right, will be something that could be a compromising of truth on your part, because you want the other party to be happy, or you want harmony in the house, or you want harmony at work, or whatever, and that kind of uh, the investigation there would be that why can't you just speak your truth as it happens? Why do you get burnt in these situations? Is it the same pattern again and again, or is it just one-off person that was really nasty? Well, that's easy to do. If it's a one-off person that's nasty, be careful, right? Because they'll be nasty again. But if there is some kind of a character habit you can see, that this seems to happen with A, B, and C. Okay, what is it about my character that gets maybe involved in this particular way? So then you use whatever people you're involved in as a self-investigation. Where am I coming from? Am I trying to please people? Or am I just naturally compassionate or whatever? And so there's a kind of inner dialogue to watch. How do I relate? And is there any fear in it? If there is fear, then that'll always be used by others to your detriment. There's no fear, no problem. And generally, with people, you get a mixed package. People, as you get a mixed package. So I say, I say to the monks, you get if you take my good side, you got to take my bad side. If you like me when I'm chipper, you have to like me when I'm grumpy, or at least you have to accept me. Otherwise, it's not fair, right? So in personalities, there is no perfection. But in communication, if communication is coming at you in a way which is manipulative, put down, operating in a way which is not coming from honesty. There's a difference, me being grumpy and saying to everyone, I'm grumpy, leave me alone. That's fine. But if I'm manipulating someone with my language and then giving another mood to another person, then that's dishonest. And that dishonesty in communication, you have to be very careful of, obviously. So if someone is just playing you a game and then in your back and behind your back saying something else, they're not to be trusted. So then when someone comes to you and starts to put down someone else behind their back, don't trust them. Because they'll be doing that to you. Or call them on it. Say, I don't do that. I don't rip other people down behind their backs. Talk to them directly. That's an interesting one too, where sometimes we get complicit. Is that the word? Complicit in gossip. You kind of, someone starts to gossip. You say, really? Oh, she did that? Oh, that's terrible. And we like it. But then we're complicit in talking behind their back. So if someone's coming to you with that, then they're probably doing it to you as well. So right speech and communication, as you know, it's complicated. But if your intention is good and you think the other person's intention is manipulative or scoring points or whatever, or aggressive, then be careful. Right speech, right communication is that we'll hear each other's side of a viewpoint and consider it. And like in Kalyanamitta, we'll share each other's secrets. That's part of Kalyanamitta, right speech. So if I share my secrets with someone and they don't share their secrets with me, like difficulties I have as a human being, and they don't, I said, why aren't you? Why don't you tell me something about yourself? That kind of thing. Communication is complicated, but if you keep working with your heart, look at fear and those kinds of things, you'll become a much better communicator. And you'll have more courage and strength to say, that's wrong. You can't do that. Or, okay, if that's the way you think, or whatever you need to do. So it's part of the huge learning of being a human being, isn't it? Huge learning, yeah. But you have the right attitude. You want to understand yourself, and you're not carrying around grudges. So you have a compassionate heart. Keep with those, but be very careful of your friendships. Kalyanamitta is very important. So some person is very toxic, and you just find that their language and energy is just polluting your mind. Be careful. Kalyanamitta.
Thank you,
Okay?
Lompo.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You,
Hi,
Julia.
Julia. How you been?
Hello, Longport. It's lovely to see you. I'm
Nice
in
to see you.
Colorado, and I've been sitting with you, I think, during COVID, but I think I've actually seen you in White Salmon a long time ago and at the grand opening of the Portland Center. And I sit with your colleagues.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah.
Ah,
So thank you so much for these teachings. It just feels so right and so beneficial. And may your knee have the best and highest outcome, and the
thank
rest of
you.
her as well. It might be that my question has just been answered by the prior answer. So I love practice. I love meditating. I'm a lower income renter, and my battery's running down. I heard when you mentioned something about being street smart, and I think the last time I heard you say that was last time I had a difficult landlord. I have a landlady who tells fantastic lies about her tenants to one another. She also lies to the Federal Social Security Administration, to the Housing and Urban Development on the federal level, to 3 state departments, and to other people in our small town about me and about other people. And so for the past year, she's been trying to get rid of me and leaving bogus illegal notices. And so it's like I'll meditate and feel so open-hearted because I want so much to have a continuous practice that benefits beings and to be in relationship and have that continuity. Oh, I hope my battery is not running out. And then like this morning, I'll get overwhelmed with all the different organizations and information and lawyers and managing the neighbors and trying to prevent harm and feeling like it's not a safe place to practice because of the harassment by the landlady. And I don't know what the Dharma question is, but it's hard for me in those moments to remember to bring silence and open-heartedness into the interacting.
Do chanting. Julia, do chanting.
Oh.
Just bring your mind to some completely different activity. Do Itipiso Bhagawa or Buddhang Saranang, Dhammang Saranang. Just go to that. Make that a go-to place. Okay. Because your mind is so naturally, justifiably confused by all that information. It's trying to figure it out. Go to something simple, but go to language. And just start chanting. And make that your refuge until your mind settles, and then you'll deal with it. but can you move?
I love that. Well, I'm trying, but rents have gone up, and I'm not, money
Move,
bagged, but
move
I'm
north
definitely
of the border.
yeah. Can Lumpur smuggle me to Canada?
I don't have any power in immigration, unfortunately.
Oh,
We're
but
having
I almost
difficulty
tried
getting
with
visas.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
chanting is a
use
great
something
idea.
really obvious.
Yeah.
Just use something obvious. Get your mind settled, then deal with
Okay.
it. But gee, try to get out of there if you can. But I guess you don't want to be on the street too. So that's so cruel. Yeah. So and then like if it's really really bad, you just bring up ideas. Well, it's not Gaza. You
Yeah.
know, you get a comparison of how bad it
Yeah.
can be, and then
Yeah.
say, well, okay, I've got a roof. Try to
Right.
make something positive, but you still, I mean, it's horrible. You still have to deal with it. And it's so cruel.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're trying to develop an open heart, and this person is just like, yeah, the world
Yeah.
of dharmas. But
Right.
can you then use these difficulties as your mind starts to spin out? Use the chanting, settle it down, and then come back to something which is more quiet, and then deal with it if you can. But I mean, it's understandable. It's understandable.
I appreciate the empathy, and the chanting is a great idea. I love the
Okay,
chanting.
good.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Much
Good
gratitude.
luck. Good luck to you.
Anumodana.
I wish I could do more.
Anumodana.
Okay. Namaste. All right.
Lumpur, there is a one-type question, but I think the answer might be
Sure.
similar. This question is from Indy. This person writes, Ajahn, please advise, if one does not have a conducive place to meditate, what can one do? Do we trust the universe, or do we tell ourselves to trust the Buddha?
Well, I don't understand. Trust the universe, trust the Buddha. Anyway, good question. Well, your heart is your practice. That's the place of practice. So any place is a good place to practice. That you really got to make it that. Because if you think practice is just about serenity, you're done. You're toast. So I was talking to a friend who's visiting the monastery, was talking about a lot of difficult family relationships and really, really difficult to deal with. And she was really clever as her mind churned up a lot of anger and unfairness and so on. She just kept saying, who is angry? She used the who am I? Who is thinking? Who is angry? So she's using that in very tense family situation, very, you would think, unconducive to practice. But practice isn't about serenity. Practice is about awareness and wisdom. And for this person, the results are very good. She just kept at it for a year and had a very, very good result of opening the mind and quietening the mind. So she's here now. But remember that sometimes your worst enemy, your worst distraction is actually where you have to build barami. You know, this is what I have to do. It's like sink or swim kind of thing. And the idea that practice is some kind of delicate retreat where we're all quiet and we only eat vegan food and everyone's on tiptoes and it's all very precious and very delicate is not life. That's not real. Real life is, what it is. It's raw. It's unjust. It's sometimes cruel. Sometimes it's beautiful. There's good companionship. It's all the 9 yards of it. So you take practice as in your heart. That's the place. That's always the place, isn't it? That's the place. And then you use it all. So I could have said to Ajahn Sumedho way back, well, I came here to practice meditation. I didn't come here to teach meditation. I don't have a clue. And I'm afraid anyway, I want to go do samadhi where it's peaceful in the forest where shut up, Viradhammo, and give the talk. Oh, okay, thank you. I could have done that. But then I would have, so what? So I can be in a cave and be quiet? I mean, the bats can do that. But reality of life is, it is what it is. So try to always come with that. Yeah, okay, this is tough, but why not? Why not learn from why not learn from this? This is what I have to learn from. But I'm like you. I mean, when there's some kind of a hassle in the monastery and there's some dysfunctional thing going on, what happens? Of course, I don't want it there. And my mind thinks, I want a peaceful monastery. I mean, I'm human, but I don't believe that that's the solution. I believe the solution is trust and awareness, right? But I'm human. I mean, I just want everything to be hunky-dory and harmonious. But life isn't that way. And as for trusting the Buddha of the universe, I'm not quite sure what that means. I just trust in awareness.
Beautifully put.
All right.
Thank you, Longpo. Shall we? I think that's all the time that we have because it's quite late in the evening for you. Shall we call
Nice.
the session to a close by chanting the verses of sharing and aspiration, Longpo?
Okay. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease and all harmful states of mind until I realize Nibbana. In every kind of birth, may I have an upright mind with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble Lord. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming, as they say. Be
Thank you.
well.
Thank you, Longpo. Please allow us to take leave from you by formally chanting the Arahant, the three refuges. Brothers and sisters,
Okay.
let us all put our palms together and chant the Arahant. Arahant Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swatatu Bhagavatam Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namami.
Okay.
See you.
Is there another one this year for me?
Sorry?
Is this my last one, or is there another one?
I think this is the last one before you start your travels.
Okay. Okay, see you next year.
See you in Asia soon. Bye-bye, Longpo.
And hopefully before that somewhere. Namaste.